The village of Eldridge Hollow was shrouded in an eternal twilight, a place where the sun dared not linger. At its heart stood the clock tower, a monolith of stone and iron, its face a grim sentinel over the silent streets. Sarah, a traveler with a heart full of wanderlust, had been lured to the tower by tales of its enigmatic curse. She found herself within its walls on a night when the storm clouds mirrored her growing dread. As the clock's chime echoed its ominous toll, marking 3:09, the tower's curse unfurled like a dark tapestry. The whispers grew louder, a symphony of voices from ages past, each one a remnant of a soul ensnared by the tower's malevolence. The air grew colder, the shadows darker, and Sarah felt the weight of countless eyes upon her. She saw them then, the ghostly figures of villagers long gone, their expressions twisted in eternal horror. They circled her, their hands reaching out as if to drag her into their endless night. In desperation, Sarah searched for an escape, her gaze falling upon the clock's mechanism. A glint of hope sparked within her as she realized the hands of the clock were the key to her salvation. With trembling hands, she grasped the minute hand, willing it to move. It resisted at first, as if held by the very curse that bound the tower. But Sarah's determination was fierce, and slowly, the hand crept forward. As the clock struck 3:10, the spirits wailed in unison, a sound that threatened to shatter her resolve. But Sarah did not falter. She pushed the hand further, each minute feeling like an eternity, each chime a beacon of hope. The tower fought back, the whispers turning to screams, the shadows clawing at her flesh. But Sarah's will was unbreakable. She moved the hand to 3:11, then 3:12, each chime louder and more desperate than the last. Finally, as the clock struck 3:13, a blinding light erupted from the tower's face, piercing the darkness. The spirits recoiled, their forms dissolving into the ether, their screams fading into silence. The door reappeared, as if it had never been gone, and Sarah stumbled out into the storm. She collapsed outside the tower, the rain washing over her as if cleansing her of the night's terrors. The villagers found her at dawn, her eyes wide with an unspoken knowledge. They knew then that Sarah had faced the curse of the clock tower and survived. But the tower's hands were once again frozen at 3:07, its secrets locked within, waiting for the next unwary soul to wander into its grasp. In the shadowed heart of the ancient forest, there lay a village untouched by time, known to the few who dared whisper its name as Murkwood Hollow. Legend told of its sudden disappearance centuries ago, on a night when the moon turned as red as blood and the stars fled the sky. Since then, no map has charted its location, and no traveler has spoken of its people. Yet, the tale of Murkwood Hollow lived on, a tale that began on a night much like the one when it vanished. The villagers of Murkwood Hollow were a superstitious lot, their lives entwined with tales of the supernatural. They spoke of the forest with reverence and fear, for it was said to be home to spirits and creatures of old, beings that slipped through the cracks of reality into the world of man. The most feared of all was the Wraith of the Woods, a specter that haunted the village's nightmares, its presence a harbinger of doom. On the eve of the harvest moon, the villagers gathered to celebrate the bounty of the land. Laughter and music filled the air, a stark contrast to the silence that ruled the forest. But as night fell, a chilling wind swept through Murkwood Hollow, snuffing out the lanterns and plunging the village into darkness. A A sense of dread settled over the hearts of the villagers as they huddled together, sensing that something unspeakable was about to unfold. From the depths of the forest, a low hum began to resonate, growing louder with each passing moment. It was the wraith's call, a sound that no living soul had ever heard and lived to tell. The villagers trembled as the hum turned into a wail, a sorrowful cry that spoke of centuries of anguish. And then, silence. In the heart of the village square, a figure emerged from the shadows, its form shrouded in mist. The wraith had come, its eyes, hollow and endless, fixed upon the villagers, and with a voice that echoed like the whisper of death, it spoke. Tonight, the veil between worlds grows thin, and I walk among you once more. But fear not, for I seek only what was promised to me long ago. The village elder stepped forward, his voice steady despite the fear that gripped him. What is it that you seek, spirit? A life, the wraith replied. A life willingly given to settle the debt of Murkwood Hollow. A hush fell over the crowd as the wraith's words sank in. A life for the village's safety, a sacrifice to appease the darkness. It was then that a young woman named Alara stepped forward, her eyes resolute. I will go, she said, her voice carrying the weight of her decision. I will settle the debt and ensure the safety of Murkwood Hollow. The villagers protested, but Alara's mind was made up. She approached the wraith, and as she did, the spectre extended a hand, its touch as cold as the grave. In an instant, Alara was gone, and the wraith with her, leaving behind a village saved but forever changed. Years passed, and the story of Alara's sacrifice became legend, a tale to remind the villagers of the thin line between their world and the next. Murkwood Hollow continued to thrive, but the memory of that fateful night lingered, a reminder that some debts are paid not with gold, but with the currency of the soul. And so, the village of Murkwood Hollow remains, a place where the veil is thin and the spirits watch from the shadows. It is a place of mystery, of fear, and of respect for the forces that dwell just beyond sight. For in Murkwood Hollow, the past is never truly gone, and the wraith of the woods is never far away. In the remote reaches of the northern wilderness, there was a village that lay shrouded in a perpetual mist, known to the outside world as Whispering Pines. The village was old, older than any records could show, and it was said that the very trees whispered secrets of the past to those who would listen. Whispering Pines was a place of eerie beauty, where the fog hung low over the cobblestone streets, and the houses were built from the ancient pines that gave the village its name. The villagers were a hardy folk, their lives intertwined with the forest around them. They knew the woods were alive, that they watched and listened, and they respected the old packs that kept them safe. But as the years went by, the younger generation began to forget the old ways, to scorn the superstitions of their elders. They ventured deeper into the forest, laughing at the warnings, until one day a group of youth stumbled upon a clearing they had never seen before. In the center stood a stone well, its surface covered in moss and vines, as if it had been swallowed by the forest long ago. Curiosity overcame caution, and they approached the well, peering into its dark depths. That's when they heard it, a voice, soft and melodic, calling to them from below. It promised them their deepest desires, riches beyond imagining, love, power, anything they wished for. All it asked for in return was a simple offering, a token of their life's essence. One by one, the youths agreed, dropping tokens into the well. A locket, a handkerchief, a drop of blood, and true to its word, the well granted their wishes. They returned to the village as heroes, their fortunes made, their futures bright. But the forest was watching, and it remembered the old pacts that the villagers had broken. As the seasons changed, a darkness crept over whispering pines. Crops failed, animals fled, and a sickness spread among the people. The elders knew the cause, the well in the forest, the pact that had been broken. They gathered the villagers, explaining that the well was a trap, a prison for a malevolent spirit that had once plagued the land. The offerings had weakened its bonds, and now it sought to break free. The only way to stop it was to seal the well once more, to offer something of greater value, to bind the spirit again. A silence fell over the village as they realized the price of their folly. It was then that an old woman stepped forward, her eyes filled with sorrow. She was the last of the ancient line that had first bound the spirit, and she knew what had to be done. "I will go," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I will give myself to the well, to save our village." Despite the protest, she walked alone into the forest, to the clearing where the well waited. The villagers watched from the edge of the woods as she stood before the well, speaking words in a language long forgotten. And then, with a final look back at her home, she stepped into the well, her sacrifice sealing the pact once more. The darkness lifted from whispering pines, but the cost was great. The village survived, but the memory of that day lingered, a reminder of the price of greed and the power of sacrifice. And to this day, the villagers speak in hushed tones of the well in the forest, of the spirit that lies within, and of the old woman who whispers still.